When you're working on a Laravel application, you're going to find there's multiple commands you've got to run at the same time to get everything working. So you'll be running the web server, you'll be running your asset building pipeline, probably a queue worker, maybe you're tailing your logs, maybe running some other stuff as well. And it's only going to get more complex as your application grows and depends on more services and more things going on. So it can be a bit of a pain. And we saw that in our README file as well, when we told people, well, if you want to run the application, you need to run this command and this command at the same time. And that's fine for the most part, but as you get more and more things going, it can get a little bit annoying. Now, Laravel does solve this partially out of the box. If we look at the composer.json, in the script section, there is a command called dev. And what this is going to do is disable the process timeout for Composer, and then it will run this concurrently package, which is an npm package. And we're seeing here it's being passed essentially 3 different parameters. So one of the parameters here is a list of colors, and it's a comma-separated list. So this color here corresponds with the first command from the second parameter, which corresponds with the name from the third one. And in this case, it's running all of these at the same time. So by running composer run dev, we're getting PHP Artisan serve, QListen, pale, which is tailing our log file, and npm run dev all at the same time. We can come and run this to see how it would look. And you'll see that the keys for each of these are corresponding to the colors that are there, which is pretty useful. But in my opinion, this breaks down pretty quickly. If you've got lots of things going on in your application, maybe you've got a bunch of queues being processed, or you're hitting multiple URLs at once, or something like that, you might have lots of logs coming in. It's going to get a little bit unmanageable. And really, when you're looking at one thing, you want to look at one thing. If I want to see the logs, I want to look directly at the logs and not everything else. So we're going to come over here to this repo called solo-term solo. And this is a tool that Aaron Francis has built, which is kind of similar. It's an all-in-one Laravel command to tame local development. And it does basically the same thing, but in a bit of a neater way. We're going to install it and see kind of how this works. So we're going to composer require solo-term solo dev. And now that's installed it, we can also run the PHP Artisan solo install command. And what that's going to do is publish the solo configuration, which we can see in the config directory at solo. And we'll see here that this has a handful of configuration things that we can go and set. But the main thing is this list of commands here, where we'll see these are the commands that are going to run in parallel when we run the solo command. So we're going to see about, logs, vite, make. It can run the server for us as well if we want it to. So by coming over here, we're going to come and run PHP Artisan solo to see what it looks like. And it's given us this pretty neat little terminal user interface, a TUI. And you can see at the very top here, we have the tabs that are going across. And these tabs correspond with the commands that we're seeing in the file here. And at the bottom, we have a bunch of commands. So we can clear the output if I press C. We can start the output if I press S, and that will run the command again. We can restart it, which will stop and then start it. We can press Q to bail out of this entirely. And we have these arrows here, which we can use to go left and right. So if I go up and down, I can see the previous commands that were run in this tab. If I press right, I can go to the logs tab and see all of the logs that are being output by our application. I go right again and I see the vite server output for our asset bundling. If I go right again, there's a bunch of handy little utilities built into Solo to help you make models or run other stuff. There's also useful tools like a dump helper. So if you're using the dump function inside your application, you can get it to output to this screen instead of in your actual application, so it doesn't break your UI, but you can still see all of the output. Pretty handy. And there's also other useful things like to run reverb or paint or queue or tests or whatever you want. You can see the command right here that it would run if I come in here and press start. So let's quit that and quickly take a look at the config and see what we can do. Well, first of all, I'm going to come to the README and say, to start the application locally, run PHP Artisan solo. And that's going to include all of the asset bundling and everything, so we can remove this extra superfluous step. Now that we're here, I do also want it to run the web server with PHP Artisan Serve, so I'll do that. I don't think we need the about section necessarily. That's useful if you don't know what solo is, but when we're actually getting into running our application, we just want to tail our logs and see that immediately. That's the most useful thing. So we've done that. When we run Artisan Solo now, we're going to see we're getting directly to our logs tab. We don't have the about page, and we have the application being run here with Artisan Serve. So now with this command, we can come in and we can set up additional things that we need to run if we end up having more things. If we want to have a queue worker running all the time, we can take this out of the lazy commands list and just run PHP Artisan queue work always when we're running solo. More than that though, we've just simplified the steps in our README. Now there's one less command that people need to run to get running and going with the application. They can just come along and run this one command and get running and not have to worry about managing multiple different services and processes running at once. It just simplifies things quite a bit.